Hey, it's Jodio. So I am trying this Inergy Apex out. This is the older model. There's a new one called the Flex that's coming. So I'm going to actually compare and contrast the Apex to the Flex. I'm going to try powering this microwave. And what I'm really trying to do is I'm trying to make this entire van be powered by portable power instead of building electrical into the van. And so anyway, yeah, let's see how this goes. We can see that the Apex is at 100%. Just got a glass of water that I'm going to try boiling here. And I'm going to try running it for, I don't know, 3 minutes, let's just say. See if that works. So, oh, interesting. It says fail. So why is it saying fail? That seems okay. This is literally the first time I've turned the microwave off, so maybe that on. Maybe that was why. See what happens. So we can see that. Now, what's interesting is it's a 700 watt microwave, but it's pulling almost 1300 watts. And I'm not actually, that seems like a really, really big delta in terms of any sort of energy loss. So I'm surprised that a 700 watt microwave pulls that much wattage. But this is a 1500 watt continuous inverter that peaks to 3000. Now, what I don't know is how long it can run at, almost 1300 watts. Can it do that continuously? It just hit 1300. So let's just see. And then while this is running, I'll kind of share my thought process here. So this older Apex has the battery contained inside, but the new Energy Flex, the 1500, is modular. So you can stack batteries. And so what I'm planning on doing, each battery is about 100 amp hours. This also is about 100 amp hours, I think. But what I'm planning on doing is having about 300 amp hours worth of battery. That should be enough for the truck. I can always go up. I can always stack more batteries if I need to. But let's say that we have, three batteries with the Flex, and then the Flex power unit is basically the top part of this Apex. So it's got 110, it's got DC. And that way I'll be able to basically add as much power as I need. If I find that 300 amp hours isn't enough, I can just add a few more batteries. But people usually build into their van conversions, they usually build, 3 to 500 amp hour systems. So I'll be getting as much storage as people usually build into the van with this portable unit. But the advantage of it being portable is that it's modular, it's portable. I can pull it out, I can use it in other places. Also, because the technology is evolving so quickly, I also think it's meaningful to be able to upgrade easily versus having things be built into the van. So that's the plan. Let's check back in with this. So it's gone down to 86%, but I bet it'll go back up once it's done. I think that's probably, it's just, it's pulling a big load on these lithium batteries. It seems to be running fine though. It's got a minute left. And I think what I'll do, if it passes this test, which it looks like it might, then I'm going to try running it for longer, for like 4 minutes right after this to see what happens. I won't take the video for that, but I'll just report back and see kind of, can it run for 5 minutes continuous? Can it run for, 10 minutes continuous? I don't know. Be really interesting to see. Okay, it's got 40 seconds left. 84%. Seems to be running okay though. Now the way the Flex works, there's two modular top parts to it. So the batteries are separate, like I said. There's the Flex 1500, which has both DC and AC. And then there's the Flex DC, which is just DC out. Now, the thing I'm really curious to test is whether I need to buy both the Flex 1500 and the Flex DC and just swap in and out the ones that I need on the batteries. Because what I'm looking to do is it finished. Yeah, so that totally worked. Let's actually see what happens to the draw here. So the draw is back down, and it looks like the battery percentage is recovering. We'll see what it gets back up to. So what was the total actual battery loss for 3 minutes of microwave? Let's just check. Do we have hot water? Yep, it's hot. It's steaming. All right, that definitely worked. That's great. Really, really good. Back up to 85%. Let's see if it goes up anymore. 87. All right, so it looks like it's stabilizing. So 3 minutes of microwave basically used, let's call it, maybe it's going back up a little bit more, but 12 or so percent, maybe even a bit less. We'll actually have to see what it ends up at. So just to finish off what I was saying earlier, actually, what I'll do is I'll run this again while 4 minutes start. It's back up to 91%. So yeah, it looks like it used less than 10% of the battery, which would make sense if it's 100 amp hours. Use less than 10 amps to run a microwave for 3 minutes. So while I'm running this, what I don't know about the Flex 1500 that I'm very curious to test out is whether I can get enough energy out of this to run all the other appliances that I have. So, for example, I've got the optical fridge, which is right there. I've got a max fan up there. So the max fan pulls about 4 amps. The optical fridge pulls about half an amp once it's down to temperature. I've also got the SPAR heater in here, so I'll show you that. So that's right in here. And so I've got these appliances that I need to run on DC. But what's interesting is a lot of the things I never actually have to get the power out of this and into the van because I'm just grabbing the power from here. So I think a lot of times people think, you need to be able to pull whatever 100 amps, out into your van to be able to then run all these appliances. But in this case, like the microwave is directly connected right into the Apex. So I don't actually need to get it out of the Apex and into the van. It's just going direct. So I actually need a much lower amperage out to power these other appliances than I would if I were building a traditional system. By the way, the fan just kicked on. I can hear it running, but it seems to be doing okay still. We got a little over 2 minutes left. So I think that I'm only going to need to pull, let's call it 4 amps for the fan on high. Let's call it half an amp here when it's running continuously, more on startup. Let's say up to, just call it, 9 amps on start. Let's just call it 10 amps on start, but half an amp continuous. So that's 4 amps, half an amp. I think this guy takes about, I need to look, it's either under an amp or it's low single digit amps when it's running. Again, it pulls more on start. It pulls maybe 10 amps on start. But, in terms of the things that I just need to be able to be powering continuously, I need to be able to account for surges of, let's call it, 10 to 20 amps. And then I just need to be able to continuously pull probably, under 10 amps when I'm just in the van with the kids on a weekend. And so the Flex 1500, it also has cigarette outs. Each one can do 10 amps, or I also learned if you only run one, it can do 20. And so what I can likely do is I can just have a cigarette out into my fuse block that's powering all these DC appliances. I'm hoping I can get away with that. By the way, we've got 1 minute left here, so it's doing the 4-minute test just fine, which is awesome. Really good to see. I'm kind of surprised, actually. I was thinking this thing might overheat, but it seems to be running fine. Fan is blowing, so that's great. And so actually I'll show you the way that I'm wiring this up. This is the lower bed. I've got an upper bed and a lower bed here. And then it's gonna be a little bit hard to see, but basically I've got like a cigarette out for the heater, and this goes to the S-bar right now. And then I've got another cigarette out, which is gonna be, it's gonna be too hard to see, but I've got a fuse block back here. And then that will be the out for all the other DC appliances. So I could have 1 to 2 cigarette outs that are just powering the fridge and the max fan and that sort of thing. By the way, this van has a lot of seats in it because I got 9 people in my family, so it's a little bit more crowded than maybe you might usually see, but it's a much different style build. And we just got back from a big trip, so it's messy as hell. Okay, this worked. It did it. Let's actually see what the battery climbs back up to. This is great. So yeah, I can run a microwave no problem. Really good to see. back up to 78%. Yeah, looks like it'll climb back up a little bit more. So I'm gonna, since I kept the video going here, I'm gonna do a 5-minute. Let me make sure that there's still water in here. Yeah, ooh, it's hot. Okay, there is still water in here. Cool. Wow, it's really hot in there. All right, I'm gonna do a 5-minute test, just for the hell of it. Actually, you know what? Let's do a 10-minute test. So here's 10 minutes, and looks like the battery's at 81%. All right, so I'm not gonna keep the video going for 10 more minutes, but I'm gonna start it here, and I will report back. I'll just mention in the comments whether it was able to do 10 minutes continuous on the microwave with a basically 1300 watt draw. And if anybody has an idea about why is a 700 watt microwave pulling 1300 watts on the battery, I'd love to get thoughts on that, because I wouldn't have expected that the inverter would be that inefficient. But there's probably a reason. I just don't know enough about AC to DC conversions to really know. All right, awesome. Thank you, Inergy.